I might be totally wrong here, but I think Anno, or any number with a cross sum of 9 and AD behind it, as it was called in the colonies, is quite the niche game. That may be due to it serving a niche taste for a lot of gamers, namely real-time strategy economy simulations, or because it hails from Austria originally and now mostly Germany, both countries not being the greatest forces on the gaming market. Except for maybe Crytek, based in Frankfurt, Germany, which developed Crysis, the first two Far Crys, Rise, Son of Rome, and Hunt Showdown, and as any reputable Turkish gamer will tell you, is actually Turkish. Nevertheless, it's quite difficult for me to really say whether the Anno series, which I'll keep pronouncing in German by the way, is actually well known. I like to think that it's not, which is kind of a stupid thing to say, given that it has over 12,000 reviews on Steam where it just recently launched. But this wishful thinking actually has a reason. I'd like for Anno to stay this cute little thing, this niche, relatively unknown gem of a game. Know it or not, like it or not, this game has one of the most special places in my heart. This cute little city builder supply chain game with all its quirky details and, I'd like to say, a German touch to it, has been a part of my life for, oh god, a bit over 20 years. And it serves a very special purpose and makes me feel in a very special way. It's cozy. Now, I have to admit that while I'm a huge Anno fan, I haven't really treated all Annos equally. I feel that ranking games in a series running this long is kind of stupid, but if I had to, and based mostly on nostalgia, I'd put 1602 and 1701 in one category, being the games that I enjoyed but didn't really play. 2205 and 2070 are the bottom tier of all of them, mostly because I just cannot have a future setting in Anno, I'm sorry. More on that later. I've played a few hours of 2070, but that's it. They might be good games, but I'll never know. 1503, 1404 and 1800 are more or less one category. 1503 is the game that really got me hooked, but I feel like I was too young when I played it to fully experience this game and understand what made and still makes it great. But I feel very nostalgic about it, it's childhood. Now, 1404 and 1800. It's like choosing between children. I can't. Yes, sure, 1800 looks better, has more modern mechanics, is a deeper dive into the simulation aspect, but 1404 is so well-rounded. It just clicks into every last one of its bits so well. The characters fit into the world and the world fits the art style and the mechanics don't overwhelm the gameplay and you get what I mean. Mixed with a huge buttload of nostalgia, this game was my youth. I spent hours on end on my shitty laptop building kind of successful cities and enjoying every last second of it. And when I saw the Anno 1800 booth at the Gamescom, saw the past Anno vibes it had, I was hyped beyond any reasonable measure. And luckily I wasn't disappointed. So, that being out of the way, what actually makes Anno feel the way Anno feels? Obviously, it's a very subjective thing. People have very different playstyles when it comes to Anno. There are the efficiency cracks, the large-scale city magnates, the beauty builders, and then there's me. I can't do any of that really well, but Archibald be damned if I'm not fully relaxed while doing it. Sometimes I just stare at my city, marvel at all the small people running around, and when the sun rises over the mountains and this one song comes on, I get a bit teary-eyed. I usually don't go to war. I don't do scenarios, I don't try to beat my CPU enemies. I just sit there in my endless game, being the benevolent god of my people, trying my best to tend to their every needs and build them a nice home. Everything is slow, there are no time-sensitive factors, except of course for my citizens' needs, and I just, as cringe as it sounds, live in the moment. And of course, you're totally free to just demolish your enemies, let your citizens live in slave-like conditions and, well, deal with the consequences of that, but that's just not what Anno is to me. Anno is relaxation. Anno is the embodiment of, we'll see what happens. The art style is great too, especially in the older ones. It feels a bit comic-y to me. The newer ones of course have great effects, especially water and particles, but still inherit their predecessors' saturated colors, round edges and overall homely feeling. It's chock full of buttons and icons and menus all over the interface, but everything is so cute, so perfectly put in place, right where it belongs, never too serious about itself, but never too silly either. And it, kind of related to this, doesn't work set in the future. Future settings invite cold color palettes, future settings mean modern day or newer technology, they invite topics and situations that I don't want to find myself in. There are these memes where people are like, oh, what I'd give to be a peasant and just live on my silly little farm at 1404, and I, despite knowing that being a peasant in these times sucked, know what they mean. And I get my fair share of this fix in Anno, and it only works in the past settings. So, for the next Anno, I absolutely hope for a past setting. Given that the cross sum of their titles always has to be a 9, and I don't think that they changed that system, there aren't too many possibilities left. I mean, we could just do Anno 1440, but as the games are always more or less spanned over the whole century they are set in, this isn't on the table. 14, 15, 16 and 17 are out. 13 is too close to 14 for me, so maybe Anno 1206? Or 1008? Norman invasion of Britain maybe, or something really old. Anno 9, set in Asia, old Chinese dynasties. Though that would make much more sense with the 9th Anno, and the next one would be the 8th. Also, I don't think the devs would develop all those new systems like trains and workforces and the docklands and electricity and just do away with it. I don't know. I just hope it's not Anno 2025, because good lord, I can't take more of reality. Even though I don't really play Anno's scenarios, their characters are a particularly important part of the feel of the game to me. And my all-time favorite has to be Lord Richard Northberg. He is your main friend, your guide in 1404, and he's just so sympathetic. Whenever you visit him, he greets you with warm words, as an old friend. Ah, how have you been? Are you ready to trade? It makes you feel welcome. And when he gives you advice, it's written so well. It doesn't feel like he's talking down on you. He's more like, oh, did you know that one windmill can actually serve 2 bakeries? Incredible. And his 1800 counterpart is not the same. I feel like Archibald Blake was written as a kind of comic relief. Eli Bleakworth, who is kind of a flat-charactered, cruel prison warden, and Madame Kahina, who is actually my favorite character from 1800 and is this badass tradeswoman with a lot of backstory, are quite the downers when it comes to characters, so I guess the writing team felt the need to compensate. Sadly though, they tried it through bowel movement, uncomfortable underwear and "oh, I should open a window" jokes, which are really not my cup of tea. Well, to each their own. Luckily, I have the I don't know how many great-granddaughters of Leif Jorgensen, Bente Jorgensen, to keep me company and my mood high. By the way, the Jorgensen thing is a great Easter egg that makes every Anno feel connected to the Anno universe. I like it. Still, I want my Northberg back. Oh, and you might have noticed that I didn't use any voice lines from the game when talking about the characters. That's because I actually played, and will play all the Anno games in German. For you, kind stranger, that might not be a surprise, but I am a firm hater of German video game dubbing. It's seldom good, almost never great, and you can figure out the rest. And I tried playing Anno 1800 in English. It's great, it really is, but when that farmer woman sang that song in German, I knew I couldn't betray my history with this game.
Im Märzen der Bauer die Rösslein einspannt, setzt seine Felder und Wiesen instand, pflüget den Boden, ägget und sät und rührt seine Hände früh morgens und spät.
You can't talk Anno without mentioning its music. The scores, a mix of written, produced and recorded by Dynamidians since 1404, are what's holding the whole atmosphere together. Sometimes bold and brash, sometimes thinly strung and sad, playful and bright and gloomy and dark, it's the perfect bias for anyone who's looking to really dive into a session of Anno. Even the worst Annos have great music. God Smiles from 2070 is so beautiful. Simple, yet beautiful. I especially like how they produced a big list of region-specific songs depending on where you are. In 1800, for example, they have the music for the Old World, the New World, the Arctic, Cape Trelawney, and everything fits so well. A friend of mine, who I played a lot of Anno with recently, usually plays with his own music. Sometimes movie or game scores, and sometimes just normal music. And I what the fuck? I could never do that. I need the music to perfectly fit the game in any given situation, and Dynamidian knocked it out of the park repeatedly, and I don't think they get enough credit for that. Not that scores and their writers and producers get enough credit in general. So yeah, I like to be cozy, and Anno is cozy. Every time I play Anno, I get a hot cup of tea or a bowl of instant ramen, put on a big sweater and put the volume of the in-game music to 100. It relaxes me, it calms me down, even in stressful situations. Oh no, my whole trade route just collapsed because I mismanaged my resources. Well, yeah, that sucks and my people are complaining and I should and will fix that immediately, but with a calmness in my head that only a few other games manage to evoke. And if you're longing for that feeling and haven't given Anno a try yet, do it. It has done it for me for well over 20 years. Thanks for watching.